Good evening, everyone. This is Anita here from Tally Solutions. We have gathered here today to discuss on functionality of VAT. Okay. So it tells you Tally.ERP and simplicity of VAT. Okay. And we have participants from different states. The expectation is to cover the state-specific issues. We will start with one state as an example, and later, if any state-specific issues are there, we will address it. Okay. Shall we start? So, before starting with the product, we should just understand what is the concept of VAT. Okay? So, VAT, as you know, it is value-added tax. It was introduced in our country on 1st of April 2005. Okay? It is a state-specific tax and it is an indirect tax and it is a form of consumption tax. Okay? So, when you see the VAT system, it replaced the sales tax in our country. Okay? So, we should just understand what was sales tax. Sales tax. When you see, this was a tax which was levied on the sale of the product. The retail sales, whenever was done, the tax was being charged. Okay, and every time the transfer of goods happened, the tax was levied on that, including the amount of tax. Okay, so what used to happen is, it is a process of cascading effect of tax. There is an item, you're purchasing it, you're paying some tax, and when there is a successive transfer which is happening, even on that transfer, the tax was charged including the tax which was already being paid. Okay. This led to increase in the product prices. For this, they thought of revising the tax structure in our country, and a new system taxation was introduced, which was VAT. So we'll go to the next one. Avoiding cascading effect of tax. The sales tax regime is having practice of levying tax on tax, as it is termed cascading effect of tax. As I told you earlier, every successive transfer, the tax was being charged inclusive of the previously paid tax. To avoid this cascading effect of taxes, the new concept called value-added tax is introduced. Under this concept, the tax is paid only on the value-added part of the transaction value at the stage where it is being transacted. Okay, so it doesn't include the tax which is already being paid for the next process for taxation. And here it also says it eliminates the tax on tax concept, as the tax paid before the current transaction is given as input credit. Okay, so what happens is, in case of sales tax, we used to pay tax on the amount of tax which was already being paid. The system was totally eliminated in VAT, whereas whatever the tax you have paid at the time of purchases, you would be getting the input credit on that. You could adjust that input credit with your VAT payable. Okay. So due to this, the cascading effect of tax is removed by the VAT system. Shall we move to the next one? Okay. So here, there is an example how the value-added tax works. So here it is told that the value-added tax is paid on the value portion of the transaction. Cost of the item is ₹100. It includes tax of ₹10. The value added to this is 50. We'll assume I'm purchasing a commodity at ₹100, and during the time of purchase, I've already paid a tax of ₹10. So after this, I'm making some modification in that product. The value added for that product is of ₹50, and I'm going to sell it at ₹200. So when you're selling it at 200, the tax on this 200 rupees is 10%. That is ₹20. Okay. So here, for the same product, at the time of purchases, I have paid a tax of ₹10, and at the time of sales, I'm collecting the tax of ₹20. Okay. So now what I have to pay?
Hello. Yes.
So everyone please mute the okay. So now as I told you, the net tax payable, that is going to be the tax payable minus already paid tax, that is your input tax. So which is 10 rupees 10. 20 minus 10 is rupees 10. So I have to pay only rupees 10 to the department now. We'll go to the next one. Business value added tax. So when it comes to that, what is the business requirements? Okay. So every registered dealer has to account for all vatable purchases and sales. So every sir, is that you're not able to hear me? So I didn't get that. Are you not able to hear or there is any issues? Then not able to hear me. But please don't. Let's check the question. Are you not able to hear? Small business personally. No, this is just coming for that. This is fine. Can you with that? Every registered dealer has to account for all purchases and sales transactions, and also when you're accounting for purchases and sales, it should be the inventory. The inventory movement should also be recorded, and dealers have to file VAT returns and annexes for their business for the tax period. So what happens is, you're not only going to account for the transactions, you should also file your returns on a regular interval. When you see for some states it will be on monthly, there will be annually returns as well as quarterly returns. So you should also maintain those returns. And the returns, when you see, it may be physical form or nowadays it is mostly electronical. So when you see e-VAT things, for some states it will be through Excel format and for some states it will be through XML format. So this should be done on a regular basis. We'll move on to the next one. Value added tax in Tally. So now we are going to see how simple is it to maintain VAT in Tally. Okay. So the features are: simple configuration is required for generation of VAT returns, either physical or e-VAT. It is just an entry. There is no any additional requirement to be maintained. It is a simple configuration through which you can generate your physical and e-VAT returns from Tally, and ready to file VAT returns on completion of data entry for books of accounts. When you see in Tally, you need not put any additional effort for generating your returns. You just make a transaction, immediately it will have its effect on various VAT reports, forms and annexes. And also we have provided the export to e-VAT template. As it is electronic filing of VAT returns, we have also supported the e-filing through the format specified by the respective state governments. And we have also provided tax invoice and retail invoice. So there is a flexibility in Tally. That is, you can issue a tax invoice and also a retail invoice. And there is also a title and declaration for printing of invoices. So you can specify your own declaration in the VAT invoice. And there is also an option of mentioning supplier invoice number. Okay. So for some states it is mandatory, you have to maintain your supplier's invoice number. Okay. Supplier invoice number is when you're purchasing something, what is the invoice number given by the supplier? You should also account for that. So in Tally we have provided a facility wherein this also can be recorded. And we have also given special journal classes exclusively for adjustment. When you see for that, there will be various adjustments which will be done, like adjustment of input credit, adjustment with CST for opening input credit on opening stock, like this. So all the adjustments are also being provided in Tally so that this adjustment amount gets captured in the respective columns of the VAT forms and returns. Okay. And we also have a functionality of multi-rate VAT entries in single invoice. So when you're billing for something, it's not only going to be one item. You may have multiple items with various percentages of VAT applicable. So the functionality is being given to support this. And also we have MRP, the tax calculation on MRP, and also we have auto inclusion of additional values. When you're transacting, there will also be some additional expenses which is being incurred, okay, like carriage or packing charges. So department tells you have to pay tax to them, including this additional expenses. So they have a functionality in order to calculate VAT on this additional expenses that is being incurred. And there is auto valuation of stock, any additional values, inclusive, exclusive voucher classes. Okay, so in case of repetitive data work, what happens is if you prefix the ledger which you're going to use, it will help you to record the transaction in a faster pace. So that also is being supported in Tally. And also we have classification-wise report for all VAT entries. So whatever entry you record, we have classification-wise report for that, like VAT computations, we have VAT registers, and also forms and annexures. Okay, so these are the additional features in Tally. With these features, it makes it very simple to maintain VAT and Tally. Okay. Sir, I just want to share a feedback link with you. You can fill in the details over here. So this is a link. You can log into this. So I've shared a link with you. You can copy this link. Using this link, you can give your feedback. Okay, you can share the feedback after the session. So next one is simple process for EVAT. So you can, as I told you earlier, the EVAT, for some states it is supported in Excel format and for some states it is in XML format. So both the such functionality is being given in Tally. What you could do is you can download the template from your respective state's commercial tax department website. You can copy that to the export location of Tally. So you can copy it to your Tally.ERP line folder. And you can export the details from Tally, and all the transaction details will get captured in the respective columns of the EVAT form, and you can save the file and you can upload it to the site which is being certified by the department. Okay, so we'll start with the product now. We'll see how to maintain Tally, VAT in Tally, and how simple it is. I will show with one state. You can create companies with your respective state and you can follow the same procedure. So I'm creating a company, National Trader. I'll give the address. Statutory compliance for India, and I'm selecting the state as Tamil Nadu. You can select your respective state. I'm specifying the PIN code number. So I'm saving this. My company is being created now. So we'll see how to create Vat Masters. Okay. So you'll before entering into transaction, you have to create the respective masters. When you see, we have provided an option called as quick setup. So here when you go, it gives you a space where you can create the masters at one shot. So I'll go to quick setup. I'll go to value added tax. So all the taxation masters can be created from here. So I'll go to value added tax. It is asking me for entering company VAT details. I can either enter my company VAT details from here, or else I can go to F11. I can go to statutory and taxation, and I can set the option enable value added tax to yes. So when I set this to yes, it will ask me for providing VAT details. So I'll set this also to yes. So status selected as Tamil Nadu, since in the company always while creating the company has given the status Tamil Nadu, and it asks for type of dealer and selecting as regular VAT. It asks for applicable date. So I'm specifying the date from which the VAT is applicable. So next, it is asking for some additional information. It is not mandatory to provide this additional information, but if you give this, the details will get captured in the challan form and returns that is being generated from Tally. So you have to specify the details over here. So it is asking me for assessment circle. So I'll just specify it. And it is asking for division. I'll specify my division. And it is asking me for the area code. And it's asking for the export import code. And authorized by. So who is authorized for this part? So who is authorized? I'll just mention the person's name. And authorized person. So who is going to file this return? And what is his designation in the company? So I'll give it as senior accountant. Place. And it is asking me for the VAT PIN number. So I'll specify the VAT PIN number, which will be of 11 digits. So you want me to repeat from the authorized person. So authorized by means it is the person okay. So it is authorized by is who has authorized you to be accounted for the VAT. Okay. So who means the organization, when you see an organization, the owner of the organization will authorize a person who is responsible for the filing of VAT returns. That person's name will be specified here. Okay. Yes, so I'll do it in quick setup. I'm just enabling VAT from here. And then it asks for his status and designation. I've specified this and I'm going to save it. I'll go to quick setup. I'll go to value added tax. So company VAT details I've already enabled it in F11. So details are being captured here. And next we'll go to master setup. Okay. So then you can see here the master setup, it is being divided. So essential masters what you need to create for VAT is going to be your sales ledger, your purchase ledger, your tax ledger, the VAT commodity, the party ledger. If there are any additional charges or discounts, and we have stock items and voucher setup. Okay. It's so simple, no? It gives you a flow what should be there in order to maintain VAT. So I'll go to first thing, I'll go to sales and income ledger. I'll create a sales ledger. So I'll create sales at the rate of 5%. So under sales account, used in VAT return, yes. I'll set this to yes. And we have an option here of VAT or tax class. So when you see VAT or tax class, it is showing me not applicable. I can have a same ledger for multiple VAT classes wherein I can set it to not applicable, and while recording the transaction, I can select appropriate VAT or tax class, or here itself, I can select the respective VAT class. So the sales at 5%, I'm selecting sales at 5. I also create sales at 12.5%. I'll create it under sales account. Used in VAT returns is yes. Sales at 12.5. I'll create sales at the rate of 14.5% under sales account. Used in VAT returns is sales at the rate 14.5. And we'll also create interstate sales ledger. I'll create interstate sales 2% against Form C. So under sales account, used in VAT returns, yes. So VAT tax class, I'll select interstate sales 2% against Form C. So here, whatever the ledgers you want, you can create it at one stage. I'm going to save this. So all these masters are being created now. We'll go to the next one, that is creation of purchases, expenses or capital goods. So I'll create a purchase ledger, purchase at the rate of 5%. Under purchase account, used in VAT return, yes. Purchase at 5%. I'll create the next ledger, purchase at 12.5%. Under purchase account, used in VAT return, yes. So it is purchase at 12.5. And then I'll create purchase at the rate of 14.5% under purchase account. Used in VAT return is purchase at the rate of 14.5. And then I'll create interstate purchases 2% against Form C. So I'll create it under purchase account. I'll select the VAT tax class as interstate purchases 2% against Form C. Next is tax ledgers we are going to create. So I'll create tax ledgers. So I'll create input VAT at the rate of 5% under duties and taxes on VAT rate, input VAT at 5%. So I'll create next one, input VAT at the rate of 12.5% under duties and taxes on VAT rate, input VAT at 12.5. And next is input VAT Similarly, I'll create ledgers for output VAT, that is the tax that is being levied on your sales under duties and taxes on VAT. Output VAT at the rate of 12.5% under duties and taxes. Output VAT have selected my respective VAT or tax plan. So I'll save this. So Vat Masters are being created now. The duty ledgers are being created. Next we'll move on to VAT commodity. So what is VAT commodity? VAT commodity is the name to identify a product. If any item we have, it will be termed with different names, but the department has given a particular commodity name for the item in order to identify the item. So name of the commodity, I'll give it as electronic goods. So under it's used for excise or VAT, so I'll select it as VAT. And what is the commodity code? I'll specify the commodity code and schedule number, schedule A, and what is the serial number. I'll specify this and I'm going to save it. So next phase is creation of party ledger. So I'm creating my party ledger. So we'll create creditors and debtors ledger from here. So I'll create Ram Enterprises. So I'll create them under sundry creditors, and it is asking for the VAT number. The party's VAT number can be provided over here. And also we can specify the CSC registration number. And next I'll create another party will create a debtor. So I'll create it as ABC and Company. I'll create it under sundry debtors. So I'll specify the PIN number and the CST number. So I've saved this. And next is creation of additional or discount ledgers. So as I told you earlier, instead of selecting input, 1 minute. Sir. Yes, so CST ledgers I will create it. So I'll create additional ledgers. So additional ledgers, as I told you earlier, this ledger's value will also be included for accessible value calculation. So I'm creating an additional ledger, carriage inverse, under my expenses. So I'll set the option used for accessible value calculation as yes, and it is asking apportion for VAT. And what is the method of apportion? If you have multiple items, how the amount should be apportioned between the different items, either on basis of quantity or on the basis of value. So I select it as based on value. So like this you can create the additional ledgers. Okay. So we'll go for the next one. It is creation of stock items. So I'll create my stock items from here. I'll create an item, computer. So I'm not grouping it under any stock group. I'm selecting my commodity and I'm selecting the unit. I've created a unit by using Alt+C. There is no opening balance, so I'm leaving it blank. I'll create the next item, keyboard, primary. So I'm selecting the unit. So I'm going to save this. The stock items are being created now. So we'll go to the voucher setup, that is with voucher type. So we have two things here. One is sales, another one is adjustment flags in journal. So sales, there's a requirement. We need to create a voucher type for tax invoice. So I'll create a voucher type. See, the default sales voucher is being displayed here. I'll create a voucher type below the tax invoice. Under sales is tax invoice. I'll set this option to yes. And it is asking for method of voucher numbering. I'll select it as automatic. If you want to give the print title, you can specify here. So I'll give the print title as tax invoice. And if I want to create any voucher class, that can be done from here. So I'll save this. Voucher classes, we shall see it later how to create it. And next, I'll go for active adjustment flags in journal. So here, already the journal voucher type is available. I'm going to create a voucher class here. So I'll just create it as adjustment class. And after creating this, you should set the option used for VAT adjustment. Only then this particular voucher class will ask for the adjustment with respective flags. Okay. So I'll set this option to yes. And I have saved it. So we have completed with the master creation for VAT. Okay. So shall we proceed with the transactions? Were you able to create it? Shall I proceed, sir? Shall we continue with the transaction flow? Okay. Thank you. So we'll see how to maintain the purchases. First, we'll start with purchases. So I'm going to accounting vouchers. F9 for purchases. So as I told you earlier, we should also account for supplier invoice number and date. So I'm giving the supplier invoice number as well and the date. So when what date my supplier has raised the invoice. So I've selected this and next it is asking me for the party account name. So I'll select my supplier Ram Enterprises. So you can see here. And next it is asking for purchase ledger. If you have items with one particular VAT or tax class, you can have a common ledger apportioned here. In case if you have items with multiple VAT rates, what you could do is you can disable this common ledger. So you can press F12 from here and you have an option. Use common ledger accounts from item allocation. I'll set this option to no. Okay, I have set this option to no. So it is not asking me for the ledger here. So I'll save this and then I'll proceed with the items. So selecting my item, mouse, I'm giving the quantity as 1. I'll give the rate as 1000. So value comes to 1000. So here it asks me what is the, you want me to repeat the configuration. Yes sir. See, we have in F12, we have an option, use common ledger account for item allocation. Okay. If I set this option to yes, what will happen is, below the party's name, it will ask me for the purchase ledger. In case if I have items with only one slab of VAT, I can apportion it to one ledger itself. Okay. So I'm dealing with the invoice wherein all the items are of 5% VAT. So I can allocate it to a common ledger by selecting purchase at 5% over here. In case if you are dealing with items which dealing with the invoice which is having items with multiple VAT rates, in that case you can disable this common ledger account and you can allocate the appropriate ledger after selection of items. As I told here, I have an option, use common ledger account for item allocation. I'll set this option to no. So you can see here, it is not asking me for the ledger. I'll select the stock item. After selection of stock item, it asks me for the purchase ledger selection. Okay. So I'll select my ledger, purchases at the rate of 5% under purchase account, and then I'll select my I select another item which is having a different percentage of VAT. I'll select both. I'll give the quantity as 1. I'll specify the rate as 1,500. So it comes to 1,500. Again, it is asking me what is the purchase ledger applicable. So I'll select purchases at the rate of 12.5. So there's another item. I'll select another item also. I'll give the quantity. I'll specify the rate. So it will ask me again for the purchase ledger. So I'm selecting purchase at the rate of 14.5%. Okay. So the total value of the invoice is 4,500. So now I have to select my respective VAT ledgers. I select input VAT at the rate of 5%. So it is getting calculated only on my first item's cost. And then I have input VAT 12.5. It is 187.50, which is calculating on rupees 1,500. And then we have input VAT at 14.5%, which is calculating on the third item. So I'll just save this transaction. We have an option here, show statutory details. Okay. So in this option, what happens is, it shows you how the VAT is being calculated. So on this item, what is the percentage of VAT, what is the accessible value, and what is the VAT amount. So you can, this is just for the information, you can set this option to yes and view the details. I'll save this. So the transaction is saved now. We shall see the effect of this transaction in the VAT reports. I'll go to display, statutory report, VAT computation. So here you can see it is showing me my 3 input VAT ledgers with the accessible value and the tax amount. Like this, as in when you record the transaction against the respective flag, the amount will get added. Okay, and if we go to VAT form, we'll go to VAT return form I. This is a form for the state of Tamil Nadu. You can check in your respective states VAT form. So it's asking for the period. You can see here the details what we write in the statutory while enabling VAT. In VAT details, those details are getting captured over here. I'll give the date as 30th of April. So you can see here the goods taxable at computation report you want to see? Yes sir. We'll go to computation report. It is showing my item accessible value and the tax amount. Is it okay? Shall I go to the next one? Okay sir. So I'll go to VAT forms, VAT return form I. So you can see the preview of this 5%, 12.5 and 14.5. It shows us the accessible value as well as the amount. So the forms will be different from state to state. It depends on your state. And also it shows what is the total input credit available. So we have a total input credit of rupees 528. Okay. So this is how the purchase transaction is being done and the details are being captured in the report. We shall see one sales entry with multiple VAT rates again. So I'll go to sales. We'll record a tax invoice. We created a voucher type tax invoice that is being listed here. I'm selecting that particular voucher type and I'll select my customer, that is ABC and company. PIN number gets captured. So we'll select the items. So I'll give the quantity and the rate. So it asks me for the sales ledger. I'll select sales at the rate of 5%. I've given the quantity and weight. So total value of invoice is 6,500. I'm selecting my sales ledger and similarly I should select your output VAT ledger. I've selected output VAT at 5%, output VAT 12.5 and output VAT at 14.5%. Okay. So again here we have an option of show category details. So you can just alt F1 for the details more. So it will give you the tax classification. I will save this. So now we'll again check the VAT computation. So I'll go to display, statutory reports, VAT computation. So you can see the sales related transaction details are being displayed in option A. Okay. So what has happened here is we have done purchases and we have done sales. Okay. So now we should see how to adjust the input credit available with my tax payable and pay the balance amount to the department. So when you see for adjustments, there are two ways. Either at the end of the month, you can record a journal voucher, transfer the, you can adjust your input credit with the tax payable. If the tax payable is more than the input credit, you can transfer the balance amount to the VAT payable, which will be your current liability. You can either make a journal entry for this adjustment or else while recording the payment voucher itself, we have given an option for auto adjustment. Okay. So we shall see with both the things. I'll first show you how to record a VAT adjustment entry in journal. So I'll create a ledger for that first. VAT payable and a current liability. So why this VAT payable ledger is required is the difference of the amount, whatever the input credit you have and the VAT payable, the output VAT, what you're supposed to pay, the difference of this would be transferred to your current liabilities. So I'll save this. I'll go to accounting vouchers, F7. I've selected the class as not applicable. So debit. So it is asking for debit. In debit, you need to debit your output VAT ledgers. Okay. So I'll select output VAT as 5%. I should pay 75 rupees. So I'm selecting it as 75. And then again debit output VAT at the rate of 12.5, which is 250 rupees. And then I'm going to debit output VAT at 14.5, which is 362 rupees 50 paise. Okay, so this is my output. And when I'm selecting my input, I should give the amount only to the extent what I have my credit. So I select credit, input VAT at the rate of 5%. So input VAT at the rate of 5%, when you see, we had a credit only of rupees 50. So I'll specify that here, and credit input VAT at 12.5. So we had a credit of 187.50. And then I'm going to again credit my input VAT ledger of 14.5. So we had up to rupees 290. So balance of this, the difference of this amount would be transferred to VAT payable. So at this month you are supposed to pay VAT of rupees 160. Have you got it? So this is one way, whereas manually you are going to adjust the credit with the VAT payable. Okay, so this is one way. Another way, as I told you earlier, in payment itself, you can make adjustment. So what I will do is I'll not save this transaction. I'll show you how to make auto adjustment while making payment. So I'll just escape. So when I'm making a VAT payment in single entry mode. Okay. So in single entry mode, we have an option Alt S for start payment. Okay. So I'll just Alt S for start payment. It asks for type of duty or tax. So I'll select it as VAT and autofill statutory payment. Yes, I want to make a autofill. Autofill is the values will be captured automatically. If not, you have to manually specify the values. So I'll make autofill statutory payment to yes. And here we have an option adjust input VAT for payment. So if I set this to yes, during this transaction, my input VAT amount will be adjusted for the purpose of payment. So I'll set this to yes. It is asking for which period am I making the VAT payment. So I'll give 1st of April to 30th of April. Okay. Can you see here? So it is asking me for the account. I'll select my bank ledger here. Bank or cash, and create a ledger for bank. I use all three to create. Under bank account. Okay, and you can see here, the output VAT is in positive and the input VAT is in negative because we have adjusted the input VAT amount towards the VAT payable. Okay, and when we calculated manually also, the value was rupees 160 VAT payable, and here also it is showing you the invoice total of rupees 166. How simple it is, no? You just record the transaction and Tally automatically extracts the value and it gives you the invoice. Okay, and we have an option here, provide details. If I set this option to yes, you can provide the details of your VAT payment. That is, the period, if you get picked from the start payment option, what we had done, and it asks you what is the type of payment you're doing. Is it towards interest or penalty? No, right? We are paying VAT, so I'll select it as not applicable. If you are paying interest or penalty, you can select this particular type of payment. Okay, again, this is state specific, so each state will have different things. And next it is asking for deposit date. So when are you depositing this particular amount? I'll specify the date as 30th of April. And what is the name of the bank and branch of remittance? So I'll specify the bank name, State Bank of India. And what is the branch code? I'll specify the code. And what is the instrument number? So I'll give the details. You will get a bank allocation screen. So you can give the instrument number here. And you can save this transaction. Okay. So this is how by making payment itself, you can adjust your input VAT amount. Okay. So now we'll see the effect of this payment being done in the VAT form. So I'll go to display, statutory reports, VAT forms. I'll go to VAT return forms. I'll go to form I. So I'll give the period. So I'll make print S. I'll go to the preview. So here I'll go to the Second page. So you can see here the amount what we paid is rupees 160, and what was the check number, and what was the date of payment, and what was the bank. So the details which we have given and provided is getting captured. So you should be careful when you're making the payment entry. Only if you specify the details, it will get captured. But if not, this particular column will be blank. So this is with one flow of transactions. So we recorded a purchases, we made a sales, we made adjustment, and the payment was being done. So this is the local purchases and sales. We shall next move on to interstate purchases and sales. Okay. So we'll make a interstate purchase transaction. I'll go to accounting notice, F9 for purchases. We'll make it in the next month. Supply invoice number and date. So I'll select the supplier here. And I'm selecting my item. Okay. So I'll select the item as computer. I'll give the quantity 10. The rate comes. If you want, you can alter it. And then see, since in the last invoice we have selected the purchase at 14.5, it is showing you the same ledger. So if you want, you can alter this. And the sales part, I'll get interstate purchases 2% against form C. Okay. And then we have to select the input CST ledger. When you see for the input VAT, the purchase VAT what you pay, there is credit available. But for CST, the interstate purchases what you make, there is no input credit available. It is just treated like your cost of purchases. It is your cost of purchases. It gets added to the item cost. Okay. So you can create this input CST either under your purchases or under duties and taxes group. So I'll create a ledger. I'll use all K to create. CST paid. I'll create input CST 2% against form C. So I'll map it under duties and taxes, type of duty taxes, CST, and it is asking me for VAT or tax class. So here you should select interstate purchases 2% against form C. Okay. Since that is purchases not, you should select it as interstate purchases. It is not CST 2% against form C. Okay. So I'll save this. So value should be 400, and it asks what is the form to issue. So it is purchases against form C, right? So the form what we are going to issue is C form. So I'll select the C form. So later when you are issuing the form, you can feed in the form series number, form number, and date. We have form receivable and receivable report in Tally. From there you can see that the details will get captured in the invoice. Okay, and we have show statutory data. So I'll make this to yes. You can see here the CST amount, it is also getting added up to the accessible value. Okay, so it is getting added up to your purchase cost. So I'll save this. We shall go for computation now. For the month of May. So it's not showing, right? So you should press F12 over here and enable the option show all VAT classification. Only then the CST will be shown here, but tax will not be shown. Since there is no input credit available, it is getting added up to the accessible value itself. You can drill down from here, it will take to the transaction level. Repeat computation. So when you go to VAT computation, I press F12 and I enable the option show all VAT classification. Only if this option is enabled, it will show you the interstate purchase transaction details in VAT computation. If I set this to no, it will not show. Okay, so I'll make this to yes. It is showing my interstate purchase details over here. Okay, so we'll proceed with the next one. We'll see how to record a sales transaction. So I'll select my customer. I'll select the item. I'm selling computer. I'll give 5 numbers. Value is 2,500. I'm selling at rupees 3,000. So I'll give 3,000. It comes to 15,000 rupees. So here again I'll select the ledger, that is interstate sales 2% against form C. It has been apportioned, and then I have I have to select my output CST and create a ledger for us using all three. Output CST 2% against form C. It's under duties and taxes, type of duty, CST. So for sales, you should select the flag as CST 2% against form C. Okay, the value is being calculated and we have an option here is declared goods sales. Okay, so what has happened is in order to control the prices of certain essential commodities, government has restricted tax on certain items. Okay, so if you're selling those items, you should set this option to is declared goods sales to yes. Okay, certain specified items are there. Whereas the government has restricted for the percentage of tax applicable on that. It should be less than 2%. So only those items if you're selling, you can make this declared goods sales to yes. If not, it will be no. So forms to receive. So I'm selling it. I have to receive a form from my customer. So I'm selecting form to receive is C form. So later when I get the form, I'm going to feed in the details from the form receivable report, or else I can go to the voucher alteration and feed in the details. So I'll make sure statutory details to yes. You can see here it is showing me the tax amount for this. Okay, so we are liable to pay the output CST what is being selected. Okay, so I will save this. So my CST payable is rupees 300. I'll go to display statutory report, VAT computation. If you want to see the CST details, again press statutory, show CST details, set it to yes. Only then it will show. If for interstate purchases, we may show all VAT tax classifications to yes. If you want to see the sales details, we'll make show CST details to yes. Okay, so it is showing you have a liability of rupees 300. Where you can select, so you want to know where you want to select, you can select form F, H and I. See in the transaction itself, here we have options, forms to receive is there, no? So if you're going to receive F form, H form, the H form for exports, or I form if you're selling to some special economic zone, so you can select it over here. Okay. So this is how purchases and sales is recorded. Now we shall see with the adjustment. As I told you earlier itself, on interstate purchases, whatever the tax you have paid, there is no credit. Okay, but the CST on the interstate sales, whatever tax you have collected, if you have any input VAT, any input credit on local purchases, the same can be adjusted with the CST payable. Okay, for that also you should record a journal voucher. We don't have any input credit. I'll record a purchase transaction and generate some input credit. So 750. So I'll go to computation. The festival. Show CST details here. So you can see here, I have CST payable of 300 and I have an input credit of 750. So we can make a adjustment of this. I'll go to accounting vouchers F7 and select the class as whatever the VAT class we have created. I'll select it and we'll get the VAT tax flag. And this VAT tax flag, it is state specific. It depends on your state. For Tamil Nadu state, it is adjustment towards CST. I will select this. It is similar to the VAT adjustment. So you're going to debit your output CST 2% against from C. So you have to pay rupees 300. So I'll select 300 and then I'll select input VAT at 12.5 rupees 300. Okay, so it has been adjusted now. We'll change the date to end of the month. So see here, when we go to the VAT form, I'll go to VAT form, VAT return form, form I. There is a column available here. If tax paid under GST Act has been adjusted for the month. So the tax paid under GST is being adjusted up to rupees 300. Those details are being getting captured in this column. Okay. So as and when you make the transaction, as and when you make the adjustment, it automatically gets captured in the respective columns. Okay. So this is for the flow of the interstate purchases and sales transactions. Okay. The next one is apportionment of additional cost. So as I told you earlier, in the process of the transaction, if there is any additional cost that is being incurred, the VAT should get calculated including that additional cost amount. Okay. So we shall see one transaction how to apportion this additional cost amount for the accessible value calculation. So I'll go to accounting vouchers. It's 9 for purchases. It can be done both in purchases and sales. I'll select my item. Purchase at the rate of 5%. And then I'll select carriage in goods. I'll give the value as 300. Okay. So now my VAT should get calculated on rupees 2,300. Okay. So it will get calculated because when we had created the additional tax ledger, what we had done was we had set this option used for accessible value calculation as S. So it will consider this additional ledger's value for the calculation of the accessible value. So you should be careful with this. If you want the VAT to be calculated on this additional cost, this option should be set to yes, and you should also select the method of apportion. So I'll select this. It is showing me carriage invoice of rupees 300. It was purchased at 5%, right? So I'll select input VAT at 5%. So it should calculate VAT on rupees 2,300. Okay. So it's rupees 150. I'll make sure statutory details to yes. So you can see here the accessible value is rupees 2,300. Okay. So the input VAT is calculating on 2,300. In case if there are more than one item, if there are two items, okay. What will happen is, we have given this 300 rupees, we have selected the method of apportion to be as based on value, right? So what it will do is, it will divide this 300 rupees in between both the items on the ratio of its values. So you can see here, so the first item, the value is 2,000, including that additional cost, it comes to 2,075. And for the second item, it comes to 6,225. Okay. So like this, the apportion will be happening in Tally. It can be either done on basis of quantity or on basis of value. I will save this. So this is how the apportionment of additional cost should be done for the accessible value calculation. This is a few of simple VAT transactions, how you can make purchases, adjustments, and additional tax. Next, we shall move on to voucher classes. How you can maintain VAT using voucher classes. When it comes to voucher classes, the benefits would be it would make you faster data entry. Okay, see, since every time in an invoice when you say the purchase ledgers and the VAT ledgers are going to be common, so it avoids your manual effort to select that ledger ledger. You can prefix it to the voucher classes, whereas it will be automatically selected while you are making the invoices. And when it comes to the voucher classes, we have two types. One is inclusive and exclusive. Inclusive is the rate of the item already. How much value it will show in VAT return? 2,000, yeah, 2,300. It will show you 2,300, so because we have the VAT is being calculated on rupees 2,300, no? So it will show you that particular amount only. On what amount the VAT is being assessed. It will show you that. So the accessible value is 8,300, including both the items. I'll go to display, statutory reports, VAT, VAT forms, VAT return form for the June month. Can you see here, sir? It's showing 8,300. 8,000 was the item value, both the items cost, and 300 was my additional expenses. So in all the computation and the VAT report, it will show you the total accessible value. I was telling you about inclusive and exclusive of VAT. So inclusive of VAT is where the item, the value in which you are selling, it already includes VAT in that. You have to portion that VAT amount to that, and exclusive is you specify a value on that the VAT is going to be calculated. So we can see how to configure for inclusive of VAT first. Okay. So I'll go to account info, voucher type, I'll go for order, and select tax invoice. You can do it from quick setup also, or else you can do it from voucher type calculation. Can I know where to, so you mean to say, you want to know where to enter the transfer bill number and amount for purchases from outside state. So from what state, sir? Hello? From interstate dealer. Okay. I'll show you that later, sir. State specific, I'll show you where you can enter it. Okay? We will go with inclusive of VAT now. I'll go to accounts info. I'll go to voucher type. I'll go to alter. I'll select tax invoice. I'll create a class here. Okay, and you can see we have also given an option of default jurisdiction. So here you can specify to which jurisdiction this particular invoice is subjected to. Okay, so I'll create a class here, inclusive class. So exclude these groups, include these groups. If you want to exclude any particular group from your voucher class, you can select it from here. So if you select here, the ledgers of those groups will not be displayed for selection. So selecting it as end of list. And next it is asking me for default allocations for item and invoice. Okay. So I'll select it as sales at the rate of 12.5%. In case if it is only of one particular VAT or tax classification, you can apportion it here as well. You can select sales at 12.5 and you can calculate the percentage. See, when I press Alt C, it will take me to calculate a panel. So I can calculate it. So it is 100 into 100 divided by 112.5. Okay. So how this calculation is happening is the 100 rupees what I am giving, it already includes VAT in that. Okay. So what is the actual cost of my sales? In order to determine that, we are using this formula. If you use Alt C, it will take you to calculate a panel, and you press enter, it will give you the value here. So the value is 88.88. Out of 100 rupees, 88 rupees is your sales value. If you want to round up, you can select the rounding method, and then you can select the output VAT over here. So I'll select output VAT at 12.5. So out of 100 rupees, my VAT amount is going to be 11 rupees. Okay. So if you have only one item, you can configure like this. If you have items with multiple VAT rates, what you could do is to specify 100 itself here. Okay. We have an option here. Default accounting allocations for. This is one of the new features which is you're not getting. Sir, see what I'm telling is, in a particular invoice, if you have only one item, okay, means you have an item of only 12.5% VAT. Okay, so what you could do is, you can predefine the class over here. So I can calculate here, 100. So the value is going to be 88.89. And then I can select my output VAT at 12.5. It will be 11 rupees. Okay. So what will happen is if you give an item rate as 100 rupees, it will apportion 11 rupees to the VAT. Okay. Have you got this, sir? Okay. So this is one flow, sir. In this way you can do it if you have items with a single VAT rate in the invoice. So this is sufficient. You can save this. Using this, using this class, the transaction can be recorded. Okay. In case if you are having an invoice wherein items that are being dealt, it is of different multiple VAT rates. Okay. So one is of 12.5, one is of 5%, one more is of 14.5. So in that case, what you could do is just specify 100 here. Need not apportion it. This is simpler. And later you can give the apportionment down. Okay. And here when you see there is an option default accounting allocations form, stock items or VAT commodities. Okay. This is very useful option. So what will happen is you can select your individual items and specify what is the percentage of VAT applicable to it. Okay. So such as a invoice with multiple VAT rates, it is required to identify that particular item is of which VAT percentage. Okay. It is one-time configuration. One time you can specify it here. Later when you are making the transaction, it will automatically pick it. Okay. So what we have given, how we are given the functionality is, you can either configure it based on your stock items. You can select your stock item, specify the percentages, or else you can give it for your VAT commodities. Okay. So you have a VAT commodity as electronic items. So you know all the items under that is only your 5% VAT. So you can specify for that particular commodity 5%. You have another VAT commodity of something else. So you can give the percentage for that particular commodity. You can bifurcate it over there. Okay. So it's very simpler. One-time configuration you can do it. At making of entry, it will be very fast-paced. Okay. So I'll select it as stock items and select computer. So it is asking me for the sales ledger. I'll select sales at the rate of 14.5. So it's asking for percentage. Here I can give my division of percentage. So I'll give it as 100 into 100 divided by, it's 14.5, so it will be 114.5%. So it comes to 87.32 and you have to select output VAT of 14.5. Similarly, you can select the list of items, you can select your items and you can specify the percentage of VAT applicable. So I'll select keyboard, it is 8800 into 100 divided by 112.5. Okay. So it is 88 rupees. And I'll select my output VAT at 12.5. Okay. So this is how you can configure. If you have multiple items, each and every item you can configure over here. So when making the transaction, Tally will automatically calculate. Okay. So I'm saving this voucher class. We have two items here. So I have saved it. I'll go to accounting vouchers. F8. I'll select tax invoice. Classes, inclusive class. Okay. So it's not showing you any ledgers here. I'll select my customer's ledger. I'll select my stock item. Okay. See, I've given the quantity. I've given the rate, amount. See here, it's not asking me for the VAT, for the sales ledger selection. Previously it was asking, right? Since we have pre-allocated in the voucher type itself, it's not asking me now. Okay. And then we have, I select my next item, keyboard. Okay. So I'm just saving this transaction. I'm not selecting any VAT ledgers here. Okay. I have saved it. I can go to that transaction. You can see here the sales ledger and the VAT is being apportioned. Okay. So on the basis of the ratio what we had given now, on that slab, it is the apportioning the VAT amount. It is inclusive. If it is 2,000 rupees, 1777 is my sales value. That is the amount should be posted to the sales ledger, and the balance amount will be posted to the output that ledger. Yeah. Or you want me to show with purchase also? Sure, I'll show that. I'll make sure how should show statutory details to you. So you can see here, it has been showing me the accessible value. Okay. So I'll just save this. I'll go to purchases you want me to show now. I'll go to voucher type alteration of purchases. I'll create a class here again. Include the. I'll select purchases at 14.5. Alright, yes. So here, you should select this option. Override using item default yes, and I'm selecting the default accounting allocation for stock items. So we shall now try the batch commodity. Since all the three items we had on the same commodity, right? I'll give the class for my commodity. We'll see how the calculation is happening. I've selected electronic goods. I'll give it as purchase at 14.5%. I will accept. Okay. So after that, you should go to inventory info, stock items, alter, select the stock item, press F12. You should set this option to yes, and you can apportion it over here. So I'll select my purchase ledger, purchase at 14.5. I'll give the calculation. Similarly, for other items also, I'm doing it from the item. It is 87.26. Okay, so I've specified the percentage, selected my VAT ledger. Okay, for the purchases, you have configured in the stock items for inclusive. So I'll go to F9, I'll select my class, I'll select it as cash. So I'll select my stock items. So I'll save this transaction. I go to the like this, the apportionment will be done in case of purchases. Okay. Shall we move on to exclusive of VAT? I'll go to voucher class creation. You want me to show it again? Okay. See here, sir, I'm going to account info, voucher type, alter. I'll create. Okay, I'll show that. Purchases. I've created a class, inclusive. Okay. Inclusive. New. And you say in purchases, entry A, I'll show that, sir. See, in purchases, the cursor will not go to the percentage field. Okay, it will skip this field. So, what you're supposed to do is, you have to configure it in the stock item. Okay, so I'll set this to yes. I'll save this. So can you see here the apportionment? It is showing me the input VAT amount over here. Okay. In case of sales, it doesn't show you the VAT ledger on the page of invoice. But for purchases, if you go for the alteration, it will show you the sales ledger. Have you got it, sir? Fine. Shall we will go with the exclusive of VAT now. So we'll see how to create a voucher class for exclusive of VAT. If you want, we can also use some additional ledgers in that. I'll go to account info, voucher types, alter. We'll do it for sales. So we'll do it for tax invoice. Come to net. I'll create a class, exclusive of VAT. Okay. So here it's asking for default accounting allocation. I'll select sales at 14.5%. It is exclusive, right? So I'm not apportioning the percentage. So total 100 rupees goes to the sales itself. If you have again multiple items, you can configure it over here by selecting stock items. If you have individual items, you can just leave it this. Okay. So I'll select my sales ledger. So I'll select sales at the rate of 14.5. It will ask you what is the calculation method. Okay. So you should select it as on VAT rate. Okay. So and what is the value basis? Sorry. You should select your output VAT ledger. Your output VAT is 14.5%. So output VAT is 14.5 on VAT rate. I'll move this. I will save it. See, we have an option of round off also. If you want to round off the VAT amount, you can select it here. If you want to round off the total invoice value, you can create a ledger and you can select the type of calculation method as total amount rounding. I'll save this. I'll go to accounting voucher, F8, tax invoice. Here we have the new class. I've selected it. You can see, since it is exclusive of VAT, the VAT ledger will be shown over here. Okay. So we shall select the stock item now. I'll select my item. I'll give the quantity. See, the value is being calculated automatically. If you have multiple items, the multiple VAT ledgers will be shown, and based on the item, the VAT will get calculated. Okay. So similarly, you can do it with purchases also. If I make sure statutory details to here, it shows me the assessable value and the VAT amount. Okay. So this is how the exclusive of VAT transaction will be done. Have you got it? Or do you have any additional queries regarding this, sir? Regarding voucher classes? Okay, sir. So we have completed the transaction flow. So next is we shall see how to do e-filing of returns. Okay. So you can go to display, statutory reports, VAT. You have two things here, e-VAT form and e-VAT annexure. So e-filing will be done with the form and also for annexures you have to do e-filing, right? So I'll go to e-VAT forms. Okay. So we have form W here. Okay. This is for the state of Tamil Nadu. It's form W. It's with the export sales what is being done. Okay. So we'll go for e-VAT annexures. Okay. So we have different annexures over here. So we'll go to e-VAT annexures. So here what will happen is the consolidated, all the annexures will get generated. Okay. So for Tamil Nadu state, when you export this particular document, the Excel file gets generated from Tally itself. There is no requirement wherein you have to download templates, something like that. Okay. Normal form, so it gets exported from Tally itself. If it is for some different state, you should check for the format of your state. You have to download the templates from the department's website. You can paste it in Tally folder or this export location and you can export it. Okay. So I have an option here, update existing file, so making it as yes. And then it's asking for the period. We'll do it for the month of April. So I'll give it as 1st of April to 30th of April. So next it asks me show interstate sales details in Annexure 2. Okay. So if you have done any interstate sales, there is an Annexure 2 for Tamil Nadu state. Do you want that details to get captured in Annexure 2? Okay. So I'll make this to yes or no. It depends on the user. I'll make export to yes. Okay. So you can say these many annexures are there for that state. The details have been getting captured in the respective annexures. There is Annexure 1. Purchase details are getting captured here. Annexure 2, the sales details are captured. Okay, so like this, the details will be captured in the respective annexures. Okay. Mr. Jayesh, were you asking about assessment circle? Assessment circle is where a VAT dealer is being assessed. Like you are registered as a dealer, no? To come under which assessment circle, you have to mention the details over there. So it varies from state to state. So it depends on your particular registration. You're in which assessment circle. You can provide the details over there so that the details will get captured in the challan. Okay? Have you got it, sir? Yes, sir. It is the office circle area where you have registered, no? That area details you need to fill in, sir. And we had one more issue also. Mr. Raj, you were asking where to enter the transport bill number. Can I know from which state you are, sir? It's a Maharashtra state. Okay. Yeah, Okay. Also, there's one more thing. I'll cover that and then we will see the your issues, sir. Okay. See, if I go, what will happen is, I showed you earlier in the stock items, we had an option of configuring the percentage of VAT. Okay. So see here, this item I have given us purchases at the rate of 14.5. So similarly, we had configured for multiple items. So now what will happen is, in case if there is change in the percentage of VAT, okay, so it would be a little, it would be a tedious procedure for you to go and change it to individual items. Okay, so we have given an option in Tally wherein you can just configure for one item. The details can be copied to the multiple items, so which will make your work easier in case there is changes in the VAT percentage. Okay, so I'll just go to one item. This is computer. I've given this as purchase at 14.5. So I will change it to purchase. See, the new VAT rate will assume it is purchase at 12.5. Okay. Okay, so I'm changing it. This is one item. Okay. It will be. Okay. Okay, so I'm changing it on only one item. So after this, what I can do in order to copy is, I'll go to inventory info. I have an option of update VAT info. So I can select the item in which it is being configured. So I've configured it on computer. It will ask me for the destination type where it should get captured, whether it's commodity, to the stock group or the stock items. I'll select it as commodity and copy to what? Individual item or all the items. Okay, so what we have given a flexibility where it can be copied to a particular items of a particular commodity, or for the stock items of a particular group, or else for individual items. So I have selected as commodity, all items. You can see, just press Ctrl A, it gives you option, proceed to set default VAT details. If I make this to yes, it will get copied to all the items. We can check this. I'll go to inventory info, stock items, alter, keyboard. Can you see here, sir? It is now changed to 12.5, whereas earlier it was 14.5%. Okay. So now we shall take up the queries. The first one was, you wanted to enter the transporter's bill number. Okay. So the no, sir, it will not affect your earlier transactions. That is the reason we have given this functionality. I'll go to accounting vouchers. Sales. It is for purchases or sales, sir? The transport number you wanted to give. It's for purchases, right? You have to enter transport bill number for purchases from outside the state. Okay, for purchases. So is the statutory requirement you should make an account of the transporter's bill number? Okay. Is that this detail should get captured anytime, or just in the invoice it should be maintained, sir? Okay. Now, shall I tell? I'll check it. Get back. I'll check it. Get back. He's asking for Maharashtra state. He wants to give the transporter's bill number for interstate purchases. There's no optional supplementary details too. You should see in which form the form is there to capture it. So originally it's required to the form and it's asking for invoice. To be printed or invoice or in cash for the form. So purchases you will not be printing. Maybe for form I'll ask. Sir, is that this detail should just get captured in the invoice or any form the details should be printed? So can you give details where it should get captured? Yes, sir. Mr. Raj, can you tell me, sir, which particular form it should get captured or more details regarding this? You hope it will enter, but we need a clarity, sir, why it is required, any statutory requirements, or where it should get captured. If you could give us more details, we will check on that, sir. Then I understood that. Sir, we just check for the requirements, exact requirements, and you can mail to us. You can mail to partner.support@tallisolutions.com with the relevant details. We will get back to you, sir. Okay? Okay, sir. And Mr. Ravi had an issue facing a problem in VAT computation. Previous quarter, April to June, refundable amount was 2,500. It's not perfectly capturing in next quarter, showing opening balance like rupees 1,850. What is the problem and how to rectify refundable amount? Sir, what I would suggest you is, you first check if there is any opening balance given to the input part. Okay. in input VAT ledger and it should have a debit balancer. So once check the balance is given in debit or is in credit, it should be debit, you have to change that. And it's for one quarter you're facing problem, no? So there are in this 3 months, check if in any of the months there is VAT payable. So if there is VAT payable, you should have recorded an adjustment transaction. As I showed you earlier, in journal you could have recorded an adjustment transaction, or else while making payment, you have to adjust that input VAT to the payment, and then you should have made a payment. So month-wise you just check if you have payable or refundable, check for the appropriate adjustment entry, by this it will get solved, sir. Okay. Just check with this, sir. In case if it is not getting solved, you can get back to us. Okay. Is there any other issues? Okay. Done. Not showing me.
So we provided both products as well as demonstration of this frustration. And advisor and building.
Okay, sir, we are finished with this. If you have any other issues, you can get back to us. And I'll give you a link wherein you can share your valuable feedback relating to the product and also to the presentation. If you have any suggestions also, you can let us know, sir. Okay, I've given the link. You can copy this. A small survey, you can fill this, sir. Have you got the link? Okay, we are winding up the session for you, sir. Thanks for your participation. Thank you also for joining the session. Mute.
Last arrow where I show the column. Click there. Last option in session. Click end session and you will get a screen for saving it. Click on save. You will find the basic, all the chats, everything will be okay.
Also save a copy to my WebEx.
No.
End session.
You gave a link for that?
I gave that.
Okay. So I'll show you how to get feedback or the